many different types of interviews, each serving a specific function in the hiring process. Let's explore the world of screening interviews, comprehensive exploratory interviews, and the myriad of other types of employment interviews at hand. The purpose of a face-to-face exploratory interview is to establish continued interest on both sides and determine preliminary job suitability. Assuming these two conditions are satisfied, the next step is to set up a job-specific interview. Exploratory interviews should not serve as substitutes for more in-depth specific interviews. That is, interviews should not make decisions to hire based on an exploratory meeting. On the other hand, exploratory interviews can screen out applicants in whom you definitely would have no further interest. What distinguishes an exploratory interview is the amount of time allotted to asking questions. Interviewers must focus on key job-related issues, usually in a period of 15 to 20 minutes for non-exempt applicants and 20 to 30 minutes for professional applicants, and decide if a full follow-up interview is warranted. Telephone screening is intended to accomplish one of two objectives. One, to establish continued interest in a job applicant that results in the appointment for an in-depth interview, or two, to determine that an applicant's qualifications do not sufficiently meet job specifications. Under no circumstances should a telephone screening be viewed as a substitute for a face-to-face interview. Successful telephone screening depends on establishing and following a certain format. Contact the applicant, confirm their interest in a specific job, and agree on a time to talk. Suggest that the applicant for a non-exempt job allot approximately 20 minutes for the call. An appointment for an exempt position should set aside approximately 30 minutes. Video screening is growing in popularity as a replacement for telephone screening as businesses expand their applicant searches both nationally and internationally. That's because video screening allows interviewers to observe long-distance applicants while simultaneously talking with them. It also results in cost savings achieved by eliminating travel and administrative costs. Additionally, it allows employers to screen several applicants in the time that it would take to interview one person by phone. Businesses that are interested in video screening often hire services of an outside source to assist. Unlike the HR interview, interviewers with managers and department heads are less likely to probe general areas of interest or education. Their main focus is on, can the person do the job? For the departmental interview, then, emphasizes job specifics. For this reason, the departmental interview should consist of open-end, competency-based, and hypothetical questions based on specific job-related duties and responsibilities. Most interviews involve two people, the interviewer and the applicant. Occasionally, however, a team or panel approach is used. Ideally, this method involves up to 3 interviewers, usually an HR representative, a department manager, and a department head. This is commonly done for one of two reasons. 1, to save the time that it would take to schedule 3 separate interviews, and 2, to compare impressions of applicants as they answer questions. For maximum effectiveness, the role of each participant should be agreed upon ahead of time. Perhaps the HR representative will begin by introducing everybody, making small talk to establish rapport, and asking some open-ended and competency-based questions to determine overall job suitability. Then the manager will ask more detailed, job-specific questions, and the department head may also ask job-specific questions as well, and assess the applicant's fit within the department. Peer interviews involve the potential colleagues of the applicant. The approach has grown in popularity, especially in work environment where teamwork is vital. Most peer interviews are in the form of panels. They should take place at the end of the interviewing process, that is, followed by any screening interviews, the applicant interview with HR, and individual panel and departmental interviews. Structure is critical for peer interviews to succeed. Since most participants of peer interviews are not skilled interviewers, an HR representative usually coaches them in advance. At its most basic level, preparation involves the review of critical factors, a discussion of questions to avoid legal standpoints, and a list of recommended general questions to ask. Beyond that, some peer interviewers are broken down into specific components, with each participant responsible for probing a particular area. Most applicants are eager to make a good impression with their interviewer. They'll try to answer all questions as fully as possible, project positive body image, and ask appropriate questions. Occasionally, however, you'll find yourself face-to-face with a less than ideal applicant, someone who is expressly shy or nervous, overly talkative, overly aggressive or domineering, or highly emotional or distraught. At the first indication that you're dealing with a less than ideal applicant, make certain adjustments in how you proceed in the interview. Within the first few seconds of the rapport building portion of the interview, it will become apparent if an applicant is expressly shy or nervous. Avoid drawing attention to the person's state by saying something like, "I can see you're really nervous, just try to relax," or "Don't be shy, I'll go easy on you." Statements such as these are going to only make matters worse. Believe it or not, shy or nervous people don't think others notice. Calling attention to their behavior could drive them to the point of near implosion. This type of person needs to be drawn out slowly. A broad, open-ended question might be too intimidating if asked right off the bat. Instead, try a few closed-ended inquiries to put the applicant at ease. Make them simple, relating to areas likely to make the applicant feel more comfortable. Also, make certain that your first competency-based or open-ended question pertains to a topic within the individual's realm of experience, which will ensure a certain degree of ease in their response. Some applicants are capable of talking nonstop. They not only answer your questions, but volunteer a great deal of information, much of which is irrelevant. Applicants who are overly talkative may be just extreme verbalizers. On the other hand, they could be engaging in an excessive verbiage to distract you from a lack of job-related skills. Such people are often very personable and really quite delightful to talk with. However, you must remind yourself that you're not there to engage in social conversation. Your goal is to acquire sufficient information upon which to make a hiring decision. The key to effectively dealing with applicants who talk too much is control. You must remember that you're in charge of the interview and control the amount of time devoted to their questions and answers. When you've gathered enough information, say to the applicant, "Everything you've told me is very interesting. Now I have enough information upon which to base my decision. Thank you very much for your time. You'll be hearing from us by the end of the week." Some applicants present themselves in an overly aggressive or hostile manner. Perhaps they've been out of work for a long time, or maybe they've applied for a job with your company before and been rejected. Whatever their motivation, the resulting behavior makes interviewing difficult. When confronted with an angry applicant, stay calm and maintain your objectivity. Try to find out why the applicant is upset. Explain that you cannot continue the interview as long as he remains agitated. Your goal should be to complete the interview and judge the applicant as fairly as possible, taking into account extenuating circumstances. If the applicant's behavior escalates or they remain hostile, ask the applicant if they're still interested in the position. If they are, tell them you'll need to reschedule the interview. Have you ever had an applicant become highly emotional during an interview? Needless to say, it can be quite unnerving. If this ever happens, extend empathy rather than sympathy. This will enable you to remain objective, in charge, and better able to help the individual regain composure. Resist patting someone on the back or asking them to elaborate about the issue. Offering a person a few moments of privacy usually enables most applicants to continue with the interview. In some instances, however, it may be preferable to reschedule. Occasionally, applicants become emotional or distraught when you challenge an answer to a particular question. If this happens, change direction and return to the question later in the interview, perhaps after a better rapport has been established. Emphasize to the applicant that information is important for continued consideration. This message is usually sufficient encouragement for the applicant to discuss the situation without emotion.